Your homework was to look in your world and identify some simple machines in your real world. Raise your hand. Sit down. Raise your hand and tell me what were some simple machines that you found in your real world. Give me something.
Okay, so
pulley works on a garage to do what?
open it.
Lift or lower it. Good. Give me something else.
Like on your lamp.
Okay. That actually accesses a lever. When you pull it, that helps pull down a lever to turn on the fan or the light above head. And when you pull it again, that lever clicks to turn it off. Give me something else, Chris.
Doorknob on my front door.
Doorknob on your front door. What type of simple machine is that?
Wheel
It's a wheel and axle. Good. Give me something else, Seneca.
I said incline plane on my. This is because I got skate ramp in my backyard.
Okay. Incline plane and the skate ramp in your backyard, which allows you to do what?
Go up.
Go up and come back down.
My blinds.
What about your blinds?
Pull them up.
So what kind of simple machine is that? Pulley. Good. Give me something else. Anaya. Oh, good. Yes, the water hose. There's a lever there for when you press it. It allows a release of water. When you unpress it, it stops the flow of water. Excellent.
I said a wedge. But knife in my kitchen. I need a knife in my kitchen.
The wedges for the knives in your kitchen. Awesome. Now let me ask you this. Some of your simple machines that you've mentioned, like your knife, that is just a simple machine. But when you mention things to me like your garage, which does have a pulley, is that the only simple machine that allows your garage to work? No, it's a combination of more simple machines, which gives us a
complex
compound machine, which builds up to a, what was the thing you said? Complex machine. So today we're going to be talking about compound machines, and we're going to talk about a gentleman named Rube Goldberg, as well as the real McCoy. So let's take a look at the screen for just a moment.
Drop the little ball. What?
Rube Goldberg was an engineer and cartoonist who is best known for his drawings of how some very simple tasks can be made into very complicated ordeals. Mr. Goldberg was poking fun at the fascination people had for tools and gadgets. His cartoons appeared in newspapers from the early 1900s to the 1960s. His artwork is so famous that the name Rube Goldberg is used to mean anything done in a complicated fashion. His contraptions often included simple machines and common household items. This Rube Goldberg machine is titled Self-Operating Napkin. As the explanation says, Professor Butts walks in his sleep, strolls through a cactus field in his bare feet, and screams out an idea for a self-operating napkin. Notice the letters next to the different parts of the diagram. They were used to help explain how things worked. For example, the explanation for this device would read, as you raise spoon of soup A to your mouth, it pulls string B, thereby jerking ladle C, which throws cracker D past parrot E, and so on. Let's try this again, but this time without the letters. We'll add some animation to help visualize how the machine works. As you raise spoon of soup A to your mouth, it pulls string B, thereby jerking ladle C, which throws cracker D past parrot E. Parrot jumps after cracker, and perch F tilts, upsetting seeds G into pail, H. Extra weight in pail pulls cord I, which opens and lights automatic cigar lighter, J. Setting off skyrocket, K, which causes sickle, L, to cut string, M, and allow pendulum with attached napkin to swing back and forth, thereby wiping off your chin. After the meal, substitute a harmonica for the napkin, and you'll be able to entertain the guests with a little music.
All right, so let's talk about this information. He used a multiplicity, a lot of simple machines to do some simple tasks. Now, granted, some of the things that he did was kind of like, that's silly. You could just pick up the napkin and wipe it yourself. However, if you can do two things at once, like eating and the napkin wipes and you can still eat, that's pretty awesome, pretty cool. But like I said, his whole goal was to make fun of the amount of gadgets that we use for everything. We have the cell phones that we use. We can't leave and go anywhere without it. How many of you, if you left your cell phone at home today on your way on the bus, your day will probably be a pretty bad day, right? I know mine would. I would be late for work because I have to go back home and get this. This is very important. Some of the gadgets and tools that we use on a daily basis is important. But when we think back to a time when I didn't have cell phones. Cell phones were not always something that was in existence. They have always been in existence for your life, so it becomes a necessity for you. However, for me, they were not always existent, so I look and say, how dare we always need this when there was a time when I never even had this? So, although he was making fun of some of these things, and although some of it looked silly, if it existed, how many of you would use it? A napkin face wiper. If you went into a restaurant and they said, oh, don't worry, we'll sit you over here. Or would you like to sit in the non-face wiping section or the face wiping section? How many of you would choose the face wiping section? I know I would. And if anything, not because I can't wipe my face, but because I probably just want to see how it works. Let's see how this is. It's pretty cool. Not extra money. So some of the things that he came up with is like, that's pretty not whatever, but you know what? If it exists, I think I would want one. So let's take a look at maybe even a more modern day Rube Goldberg design. And this has no sound. Just let's take a look at what's happening. See the heat lighting the plastic underneath these poo balls? What was this called again? What was this video called? Page turner. It's boiling. What happens when something boils? What produces at the top? Condensation, steam, which is then an evaporation, and then the sponge to turn the page. Using simple machines to do a simple task to make things easier. Notice all he has to do is read the paper. That blow dryer is now on, blowing at the little gerbil.
That was dope.
Why don't you just roll the tape or something? Instead of knocking over everything down.
He broke his laptop. His laptop failed.
Now, some of the things were, like you said, I would never break my laptop. You drop the pan. But it's not about the process of what is broken. It's about the end result. He wanted to design, use a bunch of simple machines to come together and design a page turner. Was there a lever?
Oh, shit. Yeah.
There was a lever. Was there any wedges?
No.
I'm not really sure if there were wedges in there.
What's it called?
Yeah, stop. There wasn't. I don't know if there was a wedge in there, but was there a pulley?
No.
Yes.
Yep. When pulling down, was there any screws?
Yes.
To put some of the things together, there possibly was some screws. Lever, wedge, screw. What are the other ones? Wheel and axle. Were there wheel and axles?
Yes.
Yeah, to make that cart with that gerbil in there. What else? Set lever, incline plane. There was that.
Yes.
So there were just about almost all 6 with the exclusion of a wedge. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you are now going to have a job.
Oh.
you are going to be the real McCoy. Now, some of you may not know what the real McCoy is. So let's take a look at a short video explaining who Mr. McCoy was and where that term came from.
Have become a part of American folklore as well. If you've ever heard the phrase, the real McCoy, you know what I mean. The phrase was coined for a master inventor, Elijah McCoy, who ultimately patented over 60 lubricating systems, including an air brake system for railroads.
The late 1870s, most machines, including trains, had to be stopped every time they needed oil. The oilman would walk the length of the train and oil all the moving parts. McCoy devised a method for oiling machinery as it was running. And on June 23, 1872, he received a patent for the lubricating cup. McCoy believed in producing quality work. As a result, his lubricating system was used on locomotives, machinery in factories, and on engines of transatlantic steamships around the world.
McCoy's system was so effective that buyers of new machinery would ask the sellers, does the equipment have the real McCoy? If it didn't, they wouldn't buy it. So if you want the genuine article, the real thing, just ask for the real McCoy.
So, Mr. McCoy actually designed something that was very beneficial for the trains and lubricating the trains as they moved. That was something that was very efficient and efficient, that was necessary and needed. Now, the things like developing a face wiper for a napkin or a page turner or a picture taker, those things may not be needed because we can do those on our own. However, how silly or how important it is not the point. The purpose is to use a bunch of simple machines, maybe even developing compound machines, to do a certain task. Like on the other day, we watched the video where someone actually developed an apple peeler. And not only did it peel the apple, it also cut the apple and cored it. Now, granted, you can do that on your own, but it would be great to have a machine to do it for you. So your task is going to be to illustrate and label a cartoon description of an invention that will perform a simple task in 5 steps. Now, it can be something silly. It doesn't have to be something major like lubricating a train or anything like that. What you're going to do on your blank piece of paper that I've given you is you're going to need to write this down. And even though it says 5 steps, you can put 5 or more steps. So on the blank sheet of paper, you are writing the title, Be the Real McCoy. Illustrate and label a cartoon description of an invention that will perform a simple task in 5 or more steps. Everyone should be writing. Marquise, what are you waiting for? I have a bunch here for your shoe or your phone. For your shoe or your phone.
We just write the title?
And the instructions. And then I'm going to go through all of the things that you need to include to maximize your points. I'm not sure. I wasn't your last year teacher.
Yeah, we did it in this.
Oh, I had to.
Okay, let's stay right here. While you're writing, I'm going to continue, and you'll be writing it all. So you're going to have 5 or more steps. Some of the important things that you will need is a title, your inventions. You also need to include and label at least 3 machines, 3 simple machines. And on the back of your picture, you are going to list the steps and how your inventions work. You need to copy all of these things down because the screen is going to go away and you need to make sure you have all of the instructions. The paper that you are writing these things down, this is going to be your scrap. This is where you're going to write down some things, where you're going to jot down some things and draw some samples. And then once your scrap is done, Then I'm going to give you a good sheet of paper. We're going to draw, label, do all of this, and make it colorful. So again, here are your steps. You're going to use your blank sheet of paper as your scrap paper to do all of this. Some sample drawings, some ideas and examples. And then you'll get a final sheet of blank paper to follow these instructions through to make your final copy. And this concludes this portion of the lesson.